Think of the last time someone's words ruined your entire day. Maybe it was a stranger, maybe it was someone close. One moment of anger, and suddenly you felt powerless. But here's the truth: no one can truly disturb your peace unless you hand it over to them. The real challenge in life is not controlling the world, it's mastering yourself. Imagine walking into any situation, no matter how chaotic, and staying calm, clear, and unshakable. That power is not far away. In this video, you'll learn the steps to take back control of your emotions and discover how to remain calm around anyone. Awareness precedes control. Awareness is the foundation upon which every form of mastery is built. If you do not see clearly what is happening within yourself, you will always remain a servant to forces you cannot name. Many people believe that control means suppressing emotions or pretending they are not there, but this is not control. It is blindness. True control begins the very moment you become aware of the subtle shift inside yourself, the quickening of the heart, the tightening of the chest, the heat rising to the face. These are not random reactions. They are signals, messages from the body and the mind, revealing that something has been stirred. The person who sees these signals in real time gains the first doorway to mastery. Imagine being in a conversation where someone speaks to you with disrespect. For most, the instinct is immediate. Anger sharpens the voice. The mind prepares a reply, and emotions spill out before thought can catch up. But if you cultivate awareness, the process is different. Instead of rushing forward, you notice, my chest has tightened. My mind is racing. My stomach feels heavy. This noticing does not stop the sensation, but it changes your relationship to it. You are no longer fully inside the storm. You are standing a step outside, watching the storm form. That single step is already control because you have interrupted the automatic chain of reaction. Awareness is not about judging yourself for what you feel. To judge is to add more weight, more resistance, and that resistance strengthens the very emotion you wish to master. Awareness is about observing as a witness. When you watch a fire from a safe distance, you do not panic. You see the flames, you understand their nature, and you allow them to burn out in their own time. In the same way, anger, irritation, and frustration are flames within the mind. The untrained person throws fuel on them without realizing it. The aware person simply sees, and through seeing, prevents the fire from spreading. This type of awareness requires practice. In the beginning, most people only realize what has happened after the storm is already over. They think back and say, I should not have said that. I should have stayed calm. This is a sign that awareness is beginning to grow, but it is still delayed. With continuous practice, the gap becomes shorter. Instead of realizing an hour later, you notice 10 minutes later, then 1 minute later, then 10 seconds later. Eventually, you catch the emotion at the very moment it arises. This is the point where true self-mastery begins, because the earlier you notice, the greater your choice becomes. One way to cultivate this awareness is to train yourself in moments of peace. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and observe the body. Notice the breath entering and leaving. Notice the way your shoulders feel. Notice if the mind is restless or calm. In this quiet practice, you sharpen your ability to detect subtle changes. Later, when life becomes heated, that same ability will allow you to notice the shifts inside yourself in real time. The training ground is silence, but the battlefield is daily life. There is also another dimension to awareness. It is not only about seeing what happens inside, but also about noticing what triggers it outside. Some people, certain words, or specific situations always touch a nerve. If you are not aware of your own patterns, you will keep falling into the same trap again and again. But when you become aware, you begin to predict, I know this situation usually stirs my anger. I know this person often provokes me. With that knowledge, you prepare yourself. Awareness gives you foresight, and foresight gives you strength. When you walk into a room without awareness, everything can catch you off guard. But when you walk into a room with awareness, you see the energies moving, you sense the words before they are spoken, and you are not easily shaken. This is why awareness always precedes control. Without it, you are a puppet pulled by invisible strings. With it, you begin to cut those strings one by one. The mirror of the mind. When you look into a mirror, the image you see is not the mirror itself. The mirror only reflects what stands before it. In the same way, when people act with anger, jealousy, or disrespect, they are not truly showing you who you are. They are reflecting what exists inside themselves at that moment. To forget this truth is to live in constant disturbance, believing that every harsh word and every unfriendly gesture is a judgment upon you. To remember this truth is to walk with calmness, because you know that what is thrown at you belongs to the other person, not to your inner being. The mind functions like a mirror as well. When someone insults you, your mind has two choices. It can reflect the insult back with anger, or it can remain clear and simply observe. Most people allow their mirror to be stained. Instead of reflecting with clarity, the mind distorts, magnifies, and personalizes what was said. This distortion creates suffering. But if the mirror of the mind remains clean, the insult passes through like a shadow over water. It comes, it goes, and the water itself is not disturbed. Imagine a person shouting at you in the marketplace. If you have not understood the principle of the mirror, you might immediately feel attacked. You raise your voice in return, and now both minds are inflamed. Yet, if you understand, you look at the person and see that their anger has nothing to do with you. Perhaps they carry pain from their own life. Perhaps they are frustrated with themselves. The anger is their reflection. You are only the surface upon which it appears. This understanding frees you from unnecessary battles. The mirror also teaches another lesson: clarity is not indifference. To remain calm does not mean to ignore or accept mistreatment. It means you choose the right response without being enslaved by emotion. When the mirror is clear, it reflects truthfully. You can speak firmly without hatred. You can set boundaries without rage. Calmness is not weakness. It is strength under control, strength that sees the situation as it truly is. To apply this principle, you must first examine your own reflections. Ask yourself, what do I show to others when I am under stress? What emotions do I project into the world? Just as others' actions reflect their inner world, your actions reflect yours. If you are often irritated, people will experience you as irritation. If you are often patient, people will experience you as patience. The mirror is two-sided. To understand others, you must also understand yourself. This is why self-reflection is a daily practice. In moments of quiet, review your day. Notice how you reacted to words, how you responded to gestures. See clearly where you allowed your mirror to be stained and where you kept it clean. By doing this again and again, your awareness sharpens. You begin to notice your inner state before it spills outward. The more you polish the mirror of your mind, the more peaceful your interactions become. There is also a deeper level to this understanding. Sometimes the behaviors of others trigger us not because of their intention, but because something inside us resonates with it. If someone calls you unworthy and you instantly react, it may be because part of you believes it. The mirror of the mind does not only show others, it also reveals hidden corners of yourself. Each emotional reaction is a chance to see what is unresolved within you. Instead of blaming the mirror, you can use it to know yourself more deeply. When you begin to see life this way, every encounter becomes a teaching. The rude customer, the impatient driver, the cold colleague, all become mirrors showing you either their inner world or your own. If you remain attentive, you gain wisdom from each interaction. Life itself becomes the training ground, and every person becomes a teacher, even those who never intended to teach. Breath as the anchor, the breath is the most constant companion in your life. From the moment you are born until the moment life departs, the breath is always present. Yet, because it is so natural, most people ignore it. They forget its power and its ability to guide the mind into calmness. When emotions rise, the mind becomes scattered. Thoughts run in every direction, the heart beats faster, and the body prepares for reaction. In such moments, the breath is like an anchor in the storm. It does not stop the wind from blowing, but it prevents the ship from being carried away into chaos. Consider the nature of the breath. It moves without effort, rising and falling like waves upon the ocean. It is both voluntary and involuntary. You can take control of it, but even if you do nothing, it continues on its own. This dual nature makes it the perfect bridge between body and mind. When the mind is restless, the body responds with shallow, rapid breathing. When the body is calm and the breath is steady, the mind begins to reflect that calmness. In this way, the breath becomes a direct path to mastering emotions. When anger arises, most people try to control the situation outside. They argue, they resist, they push against the world. Rarely do they look inward to the rhythm of their breathing. Yet the secret is simple. If you calm the breath, you calm the storm inside. Even a single deep inhale and slow exhale begins to shift the state of the nervous system. The heart rate slows, the body releases tension, and the mind begins to clear. It is as if the storm clouds part and a glimpse of blue sky returns. To truly experience the breath as an anchor, it is necessary to train in moments of peace. Waiting until anger consumes you is like trying to learn to swim in the middle of the ocean. Practice must begin in shallow waters. Sit quietly and bring your attention to the inhalation and exhalation. Do not force the breath, simply notice its flow. You may observe the cool air entering through the nose, the rise of the chest, the fall of the belly. In this simple act of noticing, the mind learns to rest. With daily practice, you build a relationship with your breath so that when difficulty comes, it becomes a trusted ally. In daily life, the breath can also serve as a signal. Whenever you notice that your breathing has become shallow, it is a sign that your emotions are stirring. The body reveals what the mind is hiding. In such a moment, pause. Take a deliberate breath. Feel the air moving in and out, slow the rhythm down, and allow the body to settle. This pause creates a space where reaction would normally take over. Within that space, calmness has the chance to arise. The anchor of the breath does more than calm emotions, it also restores presence. When the mind is caught in anger or worry, it is not here in this moment. It is lost in the past or the future, tangled in stories and judgments. The breath, however, always happens now. By returning to the sensation of breathing, you return to the present. And in the present, there is clarity. You see the situation as it is, not as your fear or anger imagines it to be. There is another wisdom hidden in the breath. It teaches impermanence. Every inhale arises, every exhale passes away. None of them can be held. Emotions are the same. They rise, they peak, they fade. If you tie yourself to them, you suffer. If you watch them like the breath, you see that they are temporary visitors. Inhaling anger, exhaling release. Inhaling tension, exhaling letting go. With practice, the breath becomes a reminder that nothing, not even the strongest feeling, is permanent. Through the breath, you discover that control does not mean suppression. It means alignment. Instead of fighting against emotions or denying them, you align yourself with the natural rhythm of breathing. You let the breath guide the body back to balance, and the mind follows. This is why the breath is not merely air moving in and out of the lungs. It is the anchor that prevents you from being carried away by the storms of life, the rope that ties you back to the present moment, and the bridge that connects body, mind, and awareness in unity. Detach from the story, every emotion that rises within you is accompanied by a story. The story might sound like words in your head, or it may appear as images, memories, or imagined futures. Someone speaks to you with harshness, and immediately the mind begins to weave. They do not respect me. They are always like this. I cannot allow them to treat me this way. The words that were spoken last only a moment, but the story continues long after, repeating, expanding, gathering strength. The emotion is fed not by the event itself, but by the story you attach to it. If you learn to detach from the story, you remove the fuel that keeps emotions burning. Imagine watching clouds in the sky. They form, they drift, they dissolve. You do not chase them. You do not cling to them. You simply observe. This is how thoughts and stories should be treated. Yet most people behave differently. They cling to every cloud, trying to hold it in place, arguing with its shape, demanding it remain or disappear. In this struggle, peace is lost. The mind becomes tangled in its own creations, mistaking the passing cloud for permanent reality. The nature of the story is exaggeration. A single unpleasant word becomes a memory of every insult you have ever received. A look of disapproval becomes proof that you are not good enough. The mind connects events together even when they are not connected, building a structure that feels solid. But this structure is an illusion. The person who insulted you yesterday may have forgotten their words already, yet you continue to replay them in your mind as if they were fresh. The weight you feel is not the weight of the words themselves, but of the story you have woven around them. Detaching from the story does not mean you deny reality. It means you distinguish between the raw event and the mind's interpretation of it. The raw event is simple. Someone raised their voice, someone criticized, someone ignored you. The interpretation is complex. They do not value me. They want to hurt me. I will never be appreciated. When you see this difference, you begin to take power back from the stories that dominate your mind. You begin to live in what actually happened, not in the endless commentary about it. Training this skill requires vigilance. In the middle of anger, the story feels irresistible. The mind wants to replay what was said, to rehearse what should have been said in reply, to predict what will happen next. Each replay deepens the emotion. To break this cycle, you must learn to notice the beginning of the story. The moment you hear yourself saying inwardly, they always, or I, never, you pause. You recognize that the mind is spinning a narrative. Instead of feeding it, you let it go and return to the simplicity of the present. Breath can be your ally here. Each time you feel the story gaining strength, you anchor yourself with one slow inhale and exhale. This brings you back to the body, back to the moment, and away from the endless construction of the mind. With repetition, you discover that the emotion without the story is much weaker. Anger without a narrative fades quickly. Fear without a narrative loses its grip. Sadness without a narrative becomes simply a sensation in the body, passing like all sensations do. There is also wisdom in recognizing how stories are inherited. Many of the narratives we tell ourselves were planted long ago by family, by culture, by past experiences. When someone criticizes you, it might not be their words alone that hurt, but the echo of every criticism you heard as a child. The present situation awakens the old story, and suddenly you are not reacting to one event, but to years of accumulated memory. Detaching from the story means you begin to separate the present moment from the weight of the past. You see clearly, this is only what is happening now. It does not carry the same meaning as before unless I give it that meaning. As this practice deepens, life becomes lighter. You still feel emotions, but they no longer drown you. The stories may arise, but you no longer become lost inside them. You watch them come, you watch them go, just as you watch clouds drift across the sky. You do not need to follow every thought to its conclusion because you understand that most conclusions are illusions. Detachment gives space. In that space, calmness grows, and you are no longer held captive by the stories that once controlled your mind. Respond, don't react. There is a fine line between reacting and responding, yet this line marks the difference between being controlled by emotions and mastering them. Reaction is immediate, automatic, and often unconscious. Someone says a sharp word, and before you even realize, your own voice rises. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and your hand moves to the horn. Your thoughts explode with anger. Reaction bypasses awareness. It is a chain of stimulus and reflex. Response, on the other hand, carries space within it. Between the event and your action, there is a pause, however small. Within that pause, you choose. You observe what has arisen, you understand it, and then you act with clarity rather than compulsion. The difference may appear small, but its consequences are vast. A reaction often escalates conflict. It mirrors the energy given to you, multiplying it and sending it back. If someone shouts and you shout louder, the result is noise, not resolution. If someone insults and you insult in return, the cycle of suffering tightens around you both. But the response changes the energy. It does not simply mirror what was given, it transforms it. When someone shouts and you answer calmly, the heat of the fire begins to lessen. When someone insults and you remain composed, their words lose the power to wound. This is not weakness, it is mastery. To cultivate the ability to respond rather than react, you must learn to expand the space between stimulus and action. That space exists within the breath, within awareness, within the decision not to rush forward. Many people believe they have no choice. They say, that is just how I am. I cannot control my temper. Yet this is an illusion. The truth is they have not yet discovered the pause. With practice, the pause grows longer. Instead of half a second before the reaction, you find 2 seconds, 5 seconds, even 10 seconds. In those precious moments, the mind has time to settle, the body has time to relax, and wisdom has time to appear. This pause does not mean inaction. It does not mean you remain silent when words are needed, or that you ignore disrespect when boundaries must be set. It means you act deliberately, not impulsively. You speak because you have chosen to speak, not because the fire of emotion forced the words out of your mouth. You walk away because you have chosen to protect your peace, not because you are running from fear. Response is power under control. Consider the way a musician plays an instrument. If every note is struck too quickly, without timing or rhythm, the result is noise. But when the musician pauses at the right moments, the music flows with beauty. Life is the same. If you rush to react to every word, every action, every glance, your days become filled with noise. But if you insert pauses, if you allow time to sense the right response, your life begins to flow with harmony. There is another layer to this teaching. When you react, you are not really free. Your action is dictated by the external world. If someone is kind, you smile. If someone is rude, you frown. If the world praises you, you feel joy. If the world criticizes you, you feel despair. Your state of being becomes a puppet tied to the strings of others' behavior. Response cuts those strings. In choosing deliberately how to act, you no longer depend on the mood of others to determine your own peace. You take back sovereignty over your inner state. Training this ability requires a mindfulness in daily situations, not only in great conflicts. Notice the small moments when someone speaks over you, when a message arrives late, when a plan changes unexpectedly. These are the practice grounds. Each time you feel the pull of reaction, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what action truly serves me here? What action brings peace rather than chaos? By practicing in the small moments, you prepare yourself for the larger storms. With time, the difference between reaction and response becomes the difference between a life of constant turbulence and a life of steady balance. Reaction keeps you locked in cycles of conflict. Response opens the door to resolution. Reaction is fire feeding fire. Response is water calming flame. Reaction is impulse. Response is wisdom. Through response, you step out of the prison of emotional reflex and into the freedom of conscious action. Inner strength over outer chaos. The world outside is in constant motion. People speak words you do not expect, situations arise that you cannot control, and events unfold in ways that test your patience. If your calmness depends on everything around you being perfect, you will rarely know peace. The truth of life is that outer chaos cannot be eliminated. No matter how carefully you plan, no matter how kind you are, there will always be noise, conflict, and disorder in the world around you. The only place where true calmness can be cultivated is within. Inner strength is the shield that allows you to remain steady even as storms rage outside. This strength is not the hardness of stone. A stone resists, but eventually it cracks under enough pressure. Inner strength is more like the rootedness of a tree. When winds come, the tree bends, its branches sway, but its roots hold firm. The strength lies not in resisting every movement, but in having a foundation so deep that no storm can uproot it. In human life, this foundation is built through discipline, self-awareness, and the repeated practice of returning to calmness no matter what arises. When people are unkind, most imagine that their peace can only return once the other person changes. They say, if only they stopped shouting, I would be calm. If only they treated me better, I would feel at peace. But this is a fragile way to live. It gives your inner state away to the unpredictability of others. Real mastery begins when you no longer wait for the world to behave before you allow yourself to be calm. You realize that calmness is not given by others, it is generated within. This realization shifts the entire balance of power. Inner strength grows slowly, like a fire being fed with small sticks. Each time you remain calm in the face of irritation, you add fuel to this fire. Each time you pause before reacting, you strengthen the roots of your tree. At first, the fire may be small, easily blown out. The tree may be young, easily shaken. But through persistence, what was fragile becomes unshakable. Eventually, your calmness is no longer easily disturbed. What once caused you to lose balance now feels light, unable to move you. This is how strength develops, through repeated practice in real situations. There is also wisdom in recognizing that outer chaos often mirrors inner chaos. When your mind is restless, every small disturbance outside feels overwhelming. A single word can feel like an attack, a small delay can feel like disaster. But when your mind is steady, the same events lose their power. You see them as they are, small ripples on the surface, not waves strong enough to sink you. Therefore, to cultivate inner strength, you must tend first to the storms within. Through meditation, breath awareness, or simple self-observation, you clear the inner waters. Then, when outer chaos arrives, it meets a mind that is already calm. This does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. Inner strength allows you to engage with the world more effectively, not less. When you are not carried away by emotions, you can see clearly what needs to be done. You can speak with firmness without shouting. You can act with determination without hostility. Calmness gives rise to precision. Just as a warrior who panics loses control of their blade, A person who panics in life loses control of their actions. Inner strength ensures that your movements, your words, and your decisions remain sharp and intentional even in the midst of disorder. Life will continue to test this strength. There will always be new storms, new challenges, new situations where chaos seems to dominate. But each test is also an opportunity. Every time the world pulls at your calmness, you are given the chance to deepen your roots further. In this way, the outer chaos becomes the very training ground for inner mastery. Instead of wishing for the world to quiet down, you welcome the noise as the arena in which your strength is forged. This shift in perspective transforms obstacles into teachers and disturbances into exercises of discipline. With time, you begin to notice a profound change. The storms that once consumed you no longer have the same power. The chaos that once shook you now passes like distant thunder. You are no longer tossed around by every shift in the external world because your center is no longer outside, it is within. This center becomes your true refuge, a place you carry with you at all times, untouchable by noise, protected from turmoil, and sustained by the strength you have cultivated in silence and practice.